Well, a very warm welcome to the next track in this series of organ music on this YouTube channel. We've finished with the Baroque. We've left the Church of St John's, Bridgetown. We've heard various facets of Bach as a master composer for the organ, and we've looked at some theological aspects that Bach weaves into his music. We now turn for the remainder of the tracks, the next 11 tracks, to the other great composer who is able to speak to us on a theological level. We're in 20th century France. We're in the Church of La Trinité in Paris, and the composer, of course, is Olivier Messiaen. Messiaen was blessed with the condition of synesthesia, so that when he heard music, he saw within his mind colours. And these colours are used to theological effect. Messiaen also brings in Gregorian chant on a level of preaching, and he takes this idea from Charles Tournemire. Remember, in the first video on this YouTube channel, I played to you part of Tournemire's great composition, Clameur et Chorale, and I explained how Gregorian chants were set together to make a theological statement. So Messiaen uses colour, he uses chant, but he also uses the building blocks of music to stand as theological signifiers. For example, complex chords, complex harmonic modes to generate melody, rhythms, complex rhythms from a treatise in rhythm from Shangadeva, that's Hindu theoretical rhythms. All of these parameters meld together to make a theological statement. Of course, for an organist, the registration, the choice of stops on the organ. We're going to start by means of introduction with a piece by Messiaen that's not for organ at all. But it makes me think of his great early youthful composition, L'Ascension. Now, L'Ascension is an orchestral work that was subsequently transcribed for organ. And in the first movement, we see we have painted for us a great picture of the majesty of Christ. Then towards the end of his life, when he was working on his great orchestral masterpiece, Éclairs sur l'au-delà, glimpses of the beyond, illuminations of the above. The first piece, from my research, takes us into the cathedral at Bourges, into the ambulatory behind the high altar, to the stained glass apocalypse. Now, of course, Messiaen was greatly moved by the colours of stained glass, particularly in the Sainte-Chapelle and at Chartres, where the use of blue glass and red glass from a great distance, those two colours meld together to create a purple. In the ambulatory at Bourges, the stained glass is much closer to the eye of the observer, and so detail is very easy to perceive. In this opening movement of Éclairs sur l'au-delà, Messiaen recomposes an entire Gregorian chant, and he sets it in the trumpet. Here is my analysis, really, of how the trumpet melody takes the Gregorian chant and recasts it in one of Messiaen's modes of limited transposition. The contours remain the same, yet the intervals are different. So we're going to hear the Gregorian chant Potestas Eos. And in this piece, Apparition du Christ Glorieux, Messiaen thinks of two specific windows. Here we are looking at the windows of the Bourges apocalypse. And it's this glorious, majestic vision of Christ. If we were in a church, for example, in Sicily, you might see Christ Pantocrator behind the high altar in mosaic. Well, here at Bourges, it's done through the medium of stained glass. Blues and reds predominate. And in Messiaen's mind, Each cadence in this piece rests upon a rich and vibrant warm red. It's like looking through a kaleidoscope and gradually turning the kaleidoscope to reveal the colours. So these colours describe to us these windows of the Bourges apocalypse. The registration I use here is taken from the earlier organ piece at the start of L'Ascension, which drives to a great climax. We're hearing what is known as the Trinity organ in St Michael's Newquay, constructed by Lance Foy very recently, and this is the first recording that I did on this organ. It's the Trinity organ because it unites three independent instruments: the console from one instrument, the action from another, and of course the pipes from yet a third instrument. Lance Foy, the great acoustician, has designed this instrument to sit well in the Ninian Compa masterpiece of St Michael's Newquay. We start off quite quietly with the récit, the swell box closed, and only gradually does the majesty of the full organ arrive. So to start off then, on our journey through the theological music of Messiaen, here is his apparition of Christ in glory.